give you an idea, my name is Daniel Campy. I am the founder of Current Motor Works, and having gone through several iterations of this now, we are doing electric vehicle conversions. This originally started off as going to be a hot rod shop, but for electric vehicles. It has gone through several pivots, and we are now in the process of doing the design work and the startup process to do commercial medium-duty vehicles in the electric space. One of the big pivots for this was that the hot rods are the I want scenario. With the commercial vehicles, for businesses that are running these vehicles regionally, this is an I need. So one of our big concepts is that I used to be in the IT business, and after a horrible day of do-it-yourself auto repair, I thought there's got to be a better way to build a car or build a vehicle. So that's what started this whole process. So with that, what we've come up with is a battery drawer design for the vehicles themselves. If you are familiar with cargo vans, typically Sprinters or Chevy cargo vans, we are actually going to be putting the battery pack in the cargo space itself with a false floor. And what that helps us do is eliminate the perception, especially for business owners, that I don't have the range. You know, I'm going to go from Raleigh to St. Louis and back. I'm going to run out of energy on the side of the road, and my truck's going to be stranded, and my customer's not going to get their deliveries. What that battery drawer then allows us to do is use that as a technology play for both used and eventually new vehicles for manufacturers. And our test market, as I said, is going to be the regional couriers that are running 150 to 300 miles a day in range under full cargo load. Yeah, this is a data that we gathered from Bloomberg, and right now we're sitting right about in here, give or take, with the electric vehicle sales. And as you can see, gasoline sales versus electric sales, by 2035 is when those lines cross. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, that's not that far away. 15 some odd years, that the majority of the vehicles that are being sold are going to be electric. So gasoline, diesel, its days are numbered. I did the slides a little small, so maybe you can't quite see it. But the major manufacturers out there, you know, your Freightliners, your Mercedes, your Fords, and so on, they've got a problem. They have been running for decades with factories that are tooled for producing gasoline and diesel reciprocating piston engines. It is going to take a hell of a lot of time and a hell of a lot of money to retool those factories. What our system allows them to do is, in turn, convert electric vehicles without having to retool those factories. Because this system can be done completely at the dealership level. And what this also allows us to do is embrace the dealership network and distribution model that has been built over a century that is already in place. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to distribution. All right? And as I said earlier, one of the key factors of this is if you remember back in the day working on a PC, if you wanted to swap out a network card or some other device, it actually took you longer to get the case open than it did to actually do the repair. Well, that's the same idea here, is that we use 100% off-the-shelf parts, and our battery drawer allows you to open up the drawer and replace the single battery that has failed, as opposed to having to take it someplace and go through a elaborate process to get a part swapped. If anybody out here has ever worked on their own car recently, you know what a pain in the butt it can be to get, excuse me, what a pain in the butt it can be to get to that one part that you need that's buried down in the engine. All of our stuff is readily accessible and easy to get to. So it literally takes 4 bolts, parts out, parts in, 4 bolts, and you're back on the road. Here we have the idea of what this would actually look like. Now here we have this is actually a 3500 Sprinter with the battery pack in the cargo area, and not shown so that you can actually see what's going on. There'll be a false floor above this. You can grab this here, again not shown so you can see what's going on, and pull it out on rails so that you can have easy access to that battery pack. Has anyone, just by show of hands, actually looked at the configuration of a Tesla or a Bolt or a Leaf, how their battery packs are put in? Okay, kind of there, no? All right. To say that they're proprietary would be a dramatic understatement. And to get to one battery, let's say you've got battery number 16 that has got errors on it. You literally have to just about disassemble the entire vehicle to get to that pack and get to that one battery. Here, you pull it out, you grab the one battery in the middle of the pack, again, 2 bolts, new battery in, 2 bolts, slide it back in, and you're back on the road. It would literally take you longer to get to the facility than it would to do the repair. And that's one of the overriding design concepts that we've been working on. Now, this is the battery pack itself. 2 batteries down here being represented with an air channel to remove heat. Lids here to protect the batteries, and then again a false floor on top of it. All right. What this allows us to do here is to use existing chassis, which is the lion's share of the cost in development of the vehicle. We also don't have the incredible cost of doing crash testing or any of that sort of thing, because the chassis are already in existence and have already been through that process. It does have a self-cooling system. And again, it's a little bit more in the weeds than I'll get here today, but it uses air as opposed to over-engineered liquid cooling. We all know that air is not that great of a conductor of temperature, but we use a lot of it. And that's what you see here. Right here is an air channel to remove that heat. Here we have some close-ups of what's going on. The batteries are built out of different cells that are connected in parallel with each other. The fans that are powered from thermoelectrics that's surrounded on batteries on 3 sides. So as the cells get warm, which is a problem with batteries, no matter who you are, including Tesla, they will actually provide electricity to power the fans that will actually then remove the heat. So it's kind of a self-regulating system. The battery drawer is installed on slide rails, allowing for easy access, and then 3 lids to protect the batteries themselves. Now, one of the beautiful parts about this system is that it can be adapted to any make and model. In this particular case, we've been concentrating on the Sprinter 3500s, but it can be adapted to go into any vehicle, and eventually, like I said, we want to use this for selling this to manufacturers so that they can adapt it to their own designs. Our initial target claim is going to be 150 miles of range under full cargo load. Pardon me. And full cargo load is 2,000 pounds, is what we've been working with. And then, of course, licensing the intellectual property. All right, now, as I said a little bit earlier, and I'm paraphrasing the slide here, is that we've been concentrating on the commercial carriers running medium-duty vehicles. Now, these guys are running diesel vehicles that are costing them anywhere between 27 to 28 and a half cents per mile in both maintenance and fuel. We end up reducing that when we go to electricity down to 2 to 2.5 cents per mile. And these guys are running on such tight margins that they actually run their P&L expenses not by the month, but by the week. And in some cases, for the smaller couriers, by the day. So when you can take an expense of 28 cents a mile and reduce it by an order of magnitude, it gets their attention really damn quick. Now, one of the other things that absolutely kills this business is that when those trucks do break, and it's the only truck that that individual has, they got to go lease a new truck for the day. That kills them. They are contractually obligated to make their deliveries, but without a truck they can't do it, and they can't tell their customer, hey, I just can't work today. It just doesn't fly. So they, again, go lease a vehicle, and it takes some days of operation just to make that day back up. What our system allows us to do, since we have very few moving parts, is to keep the maintenance downtime to a extreme minimum. Then one of the other items that we've got more and more companies like IKEA or some of the others in town, across the state actually, that they ask their delivery guys, do you use renewable energy? Are you going green? And when they've got this in their fleet, they get to check that box yes, and can help them get that actual contract. Okay, our competition. We've got new vehicles, conversions, and then as we go up, medium duty, and down here, passengers. Obviously down in this segment, we've got all the electric vehicles that everybody's knowing. The Teslas, the Fords, the Nissans, and so on. Across the top, in the medium duty, under new, you got Rivian, Ford, Freightliner, Nissan, Mercedes, all the big boys that are in this industry. But what you'll not notice is that when you come to this side into conversions, for passenger vehicles, you've got the small and single location hobby shops. Whereas you go to the medium duty, up in our segment, you've got Ford, which is doing uplifts, which we have some significant advantages over that, and then ourselves. So we try to be into a space that we don't face as much competition. Our team. Right? Myself, my name is Daniel. I'm the founder and chief technology officer. I've got an associate's degree in electronic engineering. I spent 13 years in the IT and the electronics industry, as well as 12 years in a variety of different sales positions. A sales director is Peter Huey. If you all remember the dealership Huey's Honda, that's who that is. 20 years in that business. St. Louis Auto Advocate car broker, which was something he did after he sold Huey's Honda, and the truck leasing as well, which was his most current venture. And secondly is Charlie Walsh, is a business advisor, 30 years in the trucking business at various levels, with his last exit at $10 million. And that company is still operating at a $75 million in revenue. So we think that the combination here of technology, sales, and knowing the trucking business and that network gives us a really clear advantage. That is my show. All right, is there any questions?
All right, as per usual, please wait for the microphone so that the camera can hear you. Who would like to start the questions?
So you primarily, great presentation by the way, Dan.
Thank you.
You're primarily dealing with batteries right now. What about, are you swapping out engines or doing something that everybody else is already doing? Or
Oh, yes.
Essentially, are you creating hybrids or strictly electric vehicles?
It is strictly electric. As I mentioned, all of our parts are off the shelf. So the motors, the controllers, all the black boxes, if you will, are all off the shelf. So we're not doing any engineering in that regard. It's more assembly work than anything else. At the end of the Q&A, I'll bring up some version 2.0 ideas I have as well that are in my CAD program. Yes, sir.
Yeah, how heavy is that tray?
Each one of those. Oops. Let me get that back up. Each one of these is just shy of 2 pounds, and there are 90 batteries per pound, so it's 180 pounds per. So yeah, per pack. As indicated by the colors here, that's 2 packs. This is a 300-mile range representation.
How much drop-off do you see in a commercial vehicle with like weather like today, when it gets really cold? In range.
In range? In fact, this is a conversation Charlie and I have had on multiple cases. He actually drives a Chevy Bolt, so he sees that. We're looking at somewhere in the 30% range. This will actually get you about 330-ish, 340-ish range, but we're only advertising 150 to 300 because of that exact issue. The beautiful thing about the batteries is that as they are in use, they get warm. And from an engineering point, I am dramatically more concerned about keeping them cool than keeping them warm. I will also note, along that same line, something else that this has an advantage over that even Tesla does not have. How many people here have seen on the news, an electric vehicle fire? There, okay. Fire departments hate lithium battery fires because you have to dump just an obscene amount of water on that lithium to put it out. And even later on, when that car is towed away from the side of the highway to the scrapyard, when it dries out, it can burst back into flame because it's its own power source. What this allows us, because we will have that problem as well. All right. So what this allows us to do is, there's smoke coming back from this back area here. The driver has to get pulled over anyway. Runs around to the back, can yank this battery pack, the shelf out, and let it sit out the back side of the vehicle, and it can burn itself out harmlessly. They don't lose the vehicle, and more importantly, from their point of view, they don't lose their customer's cargo load. Right? And a fire department can dump their obscene amounts of water on it. It just, the amount of safety boggles the mind. So, thank you.
I have a question. Could you kind of walk through, let's just say for sake of argument, I'm a guy that owns a shipping company. I have 5 vehicles. I'm going to replace them all within the next year. What would the kind of like upfront cost? When do you think it would pay off? Just kind of walk me through that whole process, because you kind of have to buy the vehicles and then take them and then bring them to you guys to convert them, or do it at the dealer, which you said is your preferred, or where you're hoping to get into. Could you kind of walk us through that process?
Sure. The financial part of this is it is far cheaper instead of you going, because I had the first guy tell me that he was going to do this and my head exploded. He was going to go out and buy 20 new 3500s and then have us convert them. Okay? No, stop. Okay? Because the main thing the reason a vehicle gets cheap as time goes on is that there are miles on that engine and chassis. Well, we're ripping the engine out, okay? So that there is, what makes that vehicle less valuable because of its age is going away, right? So it's actually cheaper to have me go buy you a vehicle, that has suffered maybe some type of catastrophic mechanical failure, again, I don't care because I'm ripping the engine out, do the conversion and then sell you that vehicle. So our target sale price is $40,000 per vehicle, which is competitive with the commercial diesel. Simultaneously, how many people here remember the Volkswagen scandal with the diesel? Okay, yeah, there. The state of Missouri has $6 million for your company to apply for, and you can get up to 50% of your vehicle cost paid for by the state. And in that case, it's $20,000. Now, you said you've got these vehicles already. Since I've already went out and bought a vehicle, and I'm giving it to, selling it to you. You now take that first vehicle that you're retiring, and you sell it on the open market. It's a functioning vehicle. You should get somewhere around the $10,000 mark for it. So now instead of $40,000 you're on the hook for, now you're only on the hook for $10,000.
So in essence, you're going out and finding used vehicles, and that's what you're converting. You're not converting.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
The technology
Maybe I missed
play. Yeah. Well, the technology. This is twofold. That's our proof of concept. The technology play is to major manufacturers so that they can do it at their dealership network. Right. To prove that the battery drawer design and our system works and works well. So it's kind of two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Next question.
Daniel, I've been down to your shop and I've seen you converting the one vehicle that you have. Tell us a little bit more about that vehicle that you converted.
Well, there are two vehicles that I did when I first started this process. The first one was to prove that I could do it. I was working with an extraordinarily limited budget. So it was a 1998 Mitsubishi Eclipse that I converted, and I ran that vehicle as my day-to-day vehicle for about 6 months until the lead acid batteries finally died. The vehicle that I'm currently converting as a minimum viable product is a pickup truck that excuse me, will be a 150-mile range vehicle that with all the luxury that it came with from the factory. And again, it's a pickup truck to prove that to our potential customers, go-to-market target, that this is viable. By the way, you don't think it would work and have enough power? Here, you drive, and let them drive you around. The beautiful thing about electric motors is that, unlike reciprocating piston engines, they have 100% of their torque available immediately at 0 RPM. If anyone's ridden in a Tesla or other electric vehicle and you hit the accelerator, you're gone like that. Okay? We're sacrificing that rip-roaring performance for cargo load torque capacity, which is far more important in the commercial space. But yeah, the pickup truck is almost finished. A few hundred more dollars, and it'll be on the road. License plate not necessarily included. No, but thank you.
I'll take the next question then.
Yeah.
Could you kind of talk about your marketing plan? How do you plan to sell this? This concept, and and I'm saying this for like the next 6 months, the next couple years, and then kind of your big
push.
Yeah.
The big push is twofold. First off, especially with Charlie's network connections, these are the couriers that we will be approaching. They say, this is a concept that works. It works well, and here's our evidence, and get them to go with that first one on the road, if you will. And after that, it's a matter of, once a person is actually using the vehicle, it's one of those, I want one, no, I want two. It will be just that quick. And the market, like I said, the marketing is going to be concentrating here in Missouri for regional couriers, which is the network that both Peter and Charlie have built up over the last 30 years. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I mean, my question is, eventually, where do you think this is going to go? So, let's say you lock down the regional market, and and you have a couple of car dealerships that are willing to sell your services, obviously with their little markup on it. Where do you see yourselves going from there? Eventually, are you wanting to just get bought out by somebody, or?
Okay. The long-term plan is, as I said earlier, is the technology play, is adapting that battery box to different vehicles, both commercial and passenger, so that it becomes a licensing play as opposed to a manufacturing play.
Okay.
That make more sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. Good question. All right.
All right.
Well, then we'll finish up with. Wait, you have something else?
Yes, I do. One last thing I do want to show is 2.0. This is concept at this point. But, and over the last 4 months or so, I've been teaching myself through three-dimensional CAD.
While that's going, I'll ask the question.
Yes.
So what can the community do for you? As I like to put it, what are you doing here?
Okay. What I'm looking for is both feedback on my idea, if anybody's got any ideas on how I can make it better, and feedback on my presentation. This is actually one of the first presentations I've done outside of friends and family. So feedback on how I actually did and how I can make that presentation better are the two big things that I'm looking for.
Showing on the screen.
This is going to be version 2.0 of the engine that we installed in the different places. What you've got in here, what you can see is the blue color. That's the actual motor itself, which is only 9 inches round and about 30 inches long. So it's actually quite small when you compare it to a decent sized engine. And then all of the components are actually going to be inside that area. So what you can end up doing is building this on the bench. When the vehicles come in to be converted, when the engine transmissions come out, this drops in, wire harnesses are hooked up, and you're out. Just that fast. So, if anybody else has any other questions? No? All right.
All right. Thank you very much.